Okay, we are here at the ocean side, looking out at the lighthouse and watching the ferry go back and forth. And we thought we would do a podcast to give us an indication of our direction.
Yeah, it's so nice here in the car because it's like our own radio studio.
I know.
There's not any other sounds.
Yeah, it's a little quiet space for us.
Yes, we're by the ocean. That feels good.
It does feel good. And we have the music from Gabriel Sound playing in the background. Mm-hmm. So that's nice. So what we're trying to get a deeper feel for is our direction. We're moving forward with the show, but it has felt many times during this past couple of weeks that it's going very slowly. But we know better. We know better in the sense that we know that it's unfolding in its own rhythmic pace, and we are matched with that. But there's still so much mystery in it.
There is. There's more this year. I think. I don't know. It feels very mysterious to us because we've done how many pieces now painted?
I think we've done 20 or 21.
21 pieces, and we got one more on the table.
On the table to do.
But it's like, and then we had this whole plan of other textural work that we wanted to do. But it's like nothing is sitting into place, and we're just kind of. This is our last show at the Camden Public Library, and so it's like watching because we already knew that this was really and the show is it's about the alchemical union, the alchemical wedding between the opposites, the male and the female, and the resulting factor of the alchemical child. And so we've been reading a wonderful book on alchemy to kind of understand all this better, and it's so interesting and kind of mind-boggling that as we have moved through this book of alchemy, really well done, but not too long. Everything we have done just slides into place.
I know.
With it, and
it's
everything
quite remarkable.
Yeah, that we've worked on the last 30 years. That's 30 years now.
I know.
This trinary.
Yeah, and
the whole trinary code, everything, the male and the female that does this work, that we're like the opposing. It's the bringing together of the male and opposing factors, above and below. A male and female, day and night, sun and moon. It's all part of this alchemical position.
I know.
And we've known. I mean, we know about alchemy to a certain extent, but we've never tried. Oh, we want to become alchemists.
Yeah.
It's just that alchemy keeps coming up and falling into place, and then we say, "Oh."
And that sort of happens to us all the time.
Yeah, but right now we realize that the whole 30 years has been inside of the alchemical resolution in question.
Yeah.
And so we go all the way back. This year at this show is like the conclusion of the shows that we've done at the library. This will be the 18th show, but also it's in conclusion also of the work, a whole 30 years of the work.
Yeah, it's followed a whole cycle of this process that we've been in, and we're aware of it. But anytime you're aware of something that is mysterious, it always comes in layers and levels. So we're at its completion level
because it follows a different language.
Yeah.
And it's not meant to be fully understood. It's like our work. It's in layers. It's in riddles. It's in things that very much come clear later, not sooner. And the patience with it, allowing it to be present in the work.
And that is a practice. That patience is not an easy thing to come by.
Well, the 10 of 10 itself is alchemy. And I think we kind of knew, we never knew it to the detail, that it fits in, matches perfect
Yeah.
And the trinary code is part of the alchemical process. And the male and female, the opposites, above and below, day and night, the sun and the moon. But the knowing and the feeling, the knowing, which is more male, more like the sun, what you see, you know, and then the feeling is more layered and more in the senses and in the body, in the body itself. And but it is as important as the knowing, and so that's the female character of the, and so they're opposing. And so people, you know, I saw a question the other day is, what do you do, how are you about opposition? And I thought, well, I guess I'm not really good about it. And then I realized after listening to this, and I asked to be better about it, but what I realized is I live in it. The work we do, we're male and female, we are opposing factors, we are above and below. We bring in both at the same moment in time, so that there is no separation as things come together. And so we live in the opposition. So, you know, somebody comes in and they want to be opposition, you wonder if they're, because opposition actually creates a distance that the alchemical child can actually come into. And when people, you know, they want to debate or they're opposing, they're not exactly in opposition. Because opposition actually creates, out of it coming together, it creates, but there's no creation in that other energy.
Because opposition, I just saw, can give you insight. Because as you were talking, I was looking at the word opposition. Opposition. Position is a placement. The word op could be like optical. There's sight. So, or opportunity. So opposition isn't necessarily something that is a negative clashing thing, but actually an opportunity
for something to actually be created.
Yes. And that's true opposition.
That's true opposition. Is that when you come together with people,
you bring two
that's
elements.
What fractal building is. It's not fracturing, but it's fractal building. And what you do is you come together to create a whole new level.
So what I'm seeing is this mysterious part of this conclusionary moments that we have between now and the time we hang the show. The mystery of it is you're in opposition to the mystery, the known and the unknown. But that's because your position is not known, but it's the opportunity to know. So that's what opens up, or to feel. So we're getting, by asking these questions and by having this podcast, we're entering into knowing more about the position that's unfolding.
But this is actually what we do every time we create a new piece.
Every time.
And so it's really taken us back to the whole sacred formula of where we began.
The Ouroboros.
The Ouroboros,
the full completed circle.
Yes. And of course it's represented by the snake because of the creation that came out of the question in the Garden of Eden. And when Eve decided to actually come together and in it come together with an opposing factor, and out of it became conception. And came the long-standing regeneration of one life into another, but the ability of conceptual, of conceiving. And so it really takes a male and female opposing factors to conceive a whole new idea or an alchemical child. And that's not only, it can be inside too, because there's a lot of feminine energy that now is now coming into the alchemy with its own male, with her own male. And in that she's conceiving a whole new thing that is different from what the male and female, that what was required years ago.
Yeah.
The women are starting to conceive their own dreams, conceive their own creativity, and also nurturing it and taking care of it. And
without the burden of having to carry or care for someone else's dream that doesn't give them a full palette of their own.
You have to work on the same palette together. And it's like Robert and I, we realized that from the beginning. And we felt it. We felt the ease of it and the just absolute shoe that fit.
Yep.
And
I love that, the shoe that fit.
Yeah, and so
put your foot forward together.
Yes. Yeah. Put our foot together.
And that's what we do.
And it really wasn't, it's like when that happens, there isn't a big argument around it because you feel it so deeply.
Yeah. It just matches, and then
it matches because you feel
it carries
so
you
deeply.
forward. It carries you forward together.
So now we're looking at that the whole lifetime of this work has always been this, and there's a completion that's happened, and it's very exciting. But also it's great. It's a big mystery, and we don't quite know where to go. You know, now where it's going. And in that unknown time, there's a lot of other feelings that try to own that property that you work so hard to have available, and then everything, failure, all kinds of things comes in to own that space.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage to not let it take over because it's used to taking over that property.
Yeah.
It's a property it's familiar with trying to own. And even more than we are.
Yeah.
And so what do you think? It's like...
Well, I think just this right now, what we're doing right now, weaving the words together to come up with a deeper insight and a broader perspective and understanding is feeling better about it, even though we don't have this thing that has been created in well, it has been created in the words, but I mean, we don't have like, aha, here, we've got this piece that we're now going to make. But it's giving us an avenue into what it's going to be in order to create this next piece. And the part of the mystery is that we've known that we keep wanting to bring the texture of things in. And that's with the bundles that we were talking about, the cloth and the
creativity inside the show. Most of it is in a certain color theme, which alchemically represents the union.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, I'm
between
glad you said that.
the male and female, and it's the mercury, Mercurus, and the sulfur, and the Mercurus is represented by the blue, and the sulfur is represented by kind of a reddish orange kind of ambiance, and then there's salt.
Yes.
And then
salt.
water, but the salt is it's like the manifestation of the physical, and then you have the spirit and the
form.
soul.
That's what they called it, the form.
Because the spirit would be the Mercurus, and then the soul is the sun.
Yeah.
And so the spirit and the soul come together, and then they create, because salt's part of most matter, and so that's the formula.
Just the formula.
That's the formula for the alchemy. And it repeats itself over and over and over again. And so I don't know if now, if we're done painting and that we move into, or we're moving into studying the alchemy, so that we see how everything fits in just like a perfect match.
Yeah.
And then how do we express that? And how do we share it with people? In the last show, we talked about what it was to listen. What is it to listen? And how do we listen? And how many ways can we hear? And all of that. So with this one, I don't know if we show the positions of the alchemy in the work, or it's so we move to understanding it better and then allowing it to come out in some kind of way. And then we were also wondering if we, since this is a culmination of 18 years, that each show has been a whole alchemical position.
Yeah, I think each part is
looking
earth,
back, seed having, of earth, water,
having
seed of ether.
Yes,
those are all positions, and they nest inside of each other.
They do,
just like the 10 of 10 does.
Yeah.
The knowing and the feeling, and the recognition, and then you bring your knowing up. Do you feel what you know? Do you know what you feel? Do you feel you know what you feel? There's all these levels inside of it, and that's like the positions of the elements inside an alchemical formula.
Yeah.
So I was trying to see what we've talked about situlas, and we have beautiful situlas that we made that we could bring into the show and do water. And it talks about the dew being the quintessence, that the dew is like the above and below coming together, and then the water, the rain or water, and then the moon shining on the water, and the moon going, and then in the morning, the coolness of the night and the moon and the heat of the sun that get combined, and it's the dew, and that the dew holds both, everything
holds above and below. Yeah. Wow. Well,
And we are also like those situlas that we hold water, and we're under the sun, and then we're under the moon. And I think that was so much part of the cycle of mankind at one time.
So I think that
mostly outside.
Our shows have given to people the contact with the chemical expression, and so they are affected by it, and they see that what is occurring is let's see if there we go.
Yeah.
What is occurring is them being in part of the process, because they're inside it. When they enter into the room, the show is like a crucible, or or the bowl of Om, the sound that's contained in there. So they come in touch with that and have that experience of, well, we always make sure they have the experience of the what's it called, the performance art. So they have they're entering into not just something that's on the wall, but also the sound involved, the words that are involved. It's a whole completed picture. And year by year by year by year, it is a fractal. It has unfolded from going through those doors, going through those portal doors in each of the fairy tales, and going through the wardrobe and entering more deeply into a space that is not an everyday occurrence for them. So we have been given this way of expression to help connect people to an inner nature and to nature, to Gaia, the deep elemental unseen world that was well known before things became quote unquote modern. Prior to the Industrial Revolution and all of that, earlier back, people were very much more in touch with this, and they've lost that part, the feeling part.
Well, we've also done shows at the library. I've had workup and done shows unbelievably during very alchemical shifts in our planet and in our country and in our worlds.
Yes.
That it's very magical. That we usually, during those shifts, we usually have workup.
Yep.
And the work assists.
Yeah.
All of us with the new
the emotional feeling body.
Yes.
Being able to balance with all that is known in the world that is chaotic and not nurturing, not supportive, but this is in opposition to that, so that the opportunity, the alchemical change of opportunity, can bring us and people, and we share that, and people, an insight into a realm that can assist.
When you talk about the dew, well, I remember that the morning of 9/11, the night before, which we didn't often do very often, we slept all night in the garden.
Oh gosh, that's right.
And we woke up with dew.
Yes.
On our
oh my
clothes
gosh,
and on our faces.
I forgot about that.
And we slept right in the garden, and with the flowers and inside the rows. And so that was a very quintessence that we were working with. And then we had waken up and all the morning glories were blooming, and we come in the house, and then we see what's happened, 9/11. But that is the way, the night before, how we spent it, and the way we woke up into it. Was with the dew on our faces.
That. Yeah, forgotten that.
Yeah.
It was such a rare, it was the only time that we did that.
Yeah, that we slept all night in the garden.
Yeah. So, coming back to now, but seeing this corrugated fold that we're doing, this origami folding that we're presently doing, doing, DEWNGOING, doing, is, and to participate.
So when we do things, we are working with the above and the below, and what all comes from that.
Yeah.
The doing, like DEW.
Yeah.
Doing is moving things into a completion.
He just landed we're looking at this catbird that's out there serenading us over and over again. So he's being very present and wants to be seen. So nature informs us, and so we naturally enjoy sharing what we've been given, what's been shared with us. And so that's a natural progression, a natural organic way of being.
But I was liking this last part, just trying to see what it is now, because we're in this time where it's all the shows are coming together. There's a completion, and so each show we've done at the library has been part of this alchemical process, and shifting it. And now this wouldn't be the completion unless we were done.
Yeah, and
it's trying to see how we effectively pull this together and complete it. And
because I saw it as a gift box. You know, we talked about closing the door open.
Oh yeah.
Well, here we are, this box. We've created this contained only in the sense that it's focused. So we have this focused element of our work that has continued through this 18-year period, and it's created this box. And now it's a completion, so we are closing the lid. How do we close the lid open?
That
It's
is
like
wonderful.
when you have a gift box and you put the gift inside it or in the middle. It's like the dot in the center of the circle. You put that in the center of the box, and then you take the lid and you take its little flap and you tuck it in, like you tuck something in at night to make it cozy, secure, safe, and loved. So how do we close? That's what we're in the process of doing. Closing that lid open so that it opens into a new day, a new
Well, it's a whole new level.
perspective,
that
a
we'll be
whole
working
new
with
level.
next year.
Yeah,
Which
will be different.
will be different. It won't be at the library,
No,
but it'll
be something else.
something else. And that
But that thread,
that's kind of exciting.
I think, it just felt.
So I
that-
know we completed this.
Yeah, so this completion holds the thread for the next year.
Yeah.
That's why we're wanting to weave this last part into it, because it's a thread that continues.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So we're looking for, where is that thread? Where is that thread that we want to introduce into the completion of this that carries it forward? Because that's the gift of it, that it continues.
Well, each pattern that we did that are part of the healing decks, each one of them, you have to realize, was a white space that, when we did the thing,
Yeah.
that the male and female of us came to the same point.
Yeah.
And there, from that point of reference, we began.
That was our point of reference.
And
Yes.
so each piece has all this back and forth and crossing over and allowing and a completion.
Yeah.
That it's not just like this one's tagged to this. Each
Yeah.
pattern is complete in
It's
itself.
complete in itself, yeah.
But each are a part of the alchemy that we're needing to move. So
And see,
that's quite
and that would be a registry of recognition of each element or elemental force of each show and its progression to this completion. Well, the nice thing with this is that these words are nurturing us, they're informing us, and they're giving us a pathway to find that thread to create this completion of this phase of our work.
I mean, we've taken this work into books and patterns and artwork and the alchemy of speaking and talk. But it's like all of it is has completion. Each piece that's painted is completed. But then when you put them all together, the completion is it builds a whole building. You may have something that you made that's complete for one part, and it's whole in itself. But then now we're like, okay, now how do we put all of it together?
Yeah.
What does that make?
Yeah. Oh, no wonder it's a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, it's quite overwhelming. I'm definitely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here, like, with, 5 weeks left before the show. And it's kind of, I don't even know if we know the name of the show.
No.
And then we have these 21 pieces done. And they all are very alchemical in the sense that the beans and all is in the lots of the blue and the red. And the, it's
I'm not
it's
saying
different
it's going to
from
be
the other
this way,
shows.
but something occurred to me
Well,
just because
good.
you had mentioned you had seen something the other day. It was really abstract, which kind of reminded me, that Christmas painting that we did. It was
Oh,
called
yeah,
Christmas.
I love
Very
that painting.
abstract. We drew the linear pattern underneath it, and then that was the framework for us to
Then do the
go
crepe
completely oil stick and crepa on the top of it. That was totally an abstraction.
Yeah, it was not.
And it was beautiful. We just
that
absolutely
pattern,
loved it.
but-
But there was something that
But the
kind
pattern
of
led us to it.
reminded what you looked at kind of reminded me of that type of creating. And so towards the end of this, I wonder if there'll be, not that it has to be, but maybe there is something, some element like that. I remember going to a show years ago in before we met. I think it was like in Cincinnati Art Museum or something. They had a kind of a retrospective on the abstract artist Franz Klein. And he did all these black and white, great big huge swipes and swaths of black and white. And so they took you through through quite a few rooms. And then at the very end, the last part was this piece he had done that was very unusual for him, was in full color. Still the same kind of swaths of movement, but chocked full and filled with color. So it was like the culmination of all those that landed with color at the end.
Yeah.
So I just saw that
Well,
there may be an element of something that is different from our look. Our each show is very different from the other, but there is a continuation of a similarity, of course, within it. And I don't know, that just kind of entered in as a
then I didn't know whether we actually pull pieces from past shows and place them.
Yeah. Now we did,
especially the
and
fiber
I thought
pieces.
about that. Yeah, especially the fiber piece. I think that may be. That feels
I was so
pretty
looking
close
forward
to
to
it.
making these
Well, but
new
you know,
fiber pieces,
but
and we're not
I
doing
know, and
that.
that's been the disappointment. But in order to not feel disappointed, I don't feel that's not going to occur. I think that's something that we have a deep regard and desire to do. So I think it's going to happen. But we can't, it's like none of our shows have we ever been able to make something happen. Push it. Wrestle it to the ground and make it there. So it always is what it is. So that's the mystery, folks, where we don't have that. We're not there in that place yet. But it is coming towards us because alchemically what you do is you create the space. You create the holding area. You are the vessel. You are the amblic that you then put the different elements into. So we're inviting that to come to us. And so I think it's condensing. I think alchemically it is, where they have the condensation or whatever, and then that is drawn off to create whatever. I think that's the process right now. We're in the condensation area. We came here, we pulled in, and the windshield on the Jeep was misty because it was foggy and cloudy, and now it's kind of clearing off. So it's evaporated, and that's part of that cycle. The above and below kind of happening. So I'm just looking, they talk about looking for the signposts. And so here I look out the windshield, and there once again is one of the ferries coming from the island, coming back into the harbor.
Wow.
Well, ferry carrying something forward and back, across the water, which is the emotional body. And the ferries are those invisible elements that ferry something from point to point. So they're both wave and particle, and so here is an image of that process. And so it's no mistake that we decided to come here to be in this environment to help support us in what we are asking to know and feel more about. Very alchemical.
I like that.
Me too.
I like you brought up the oil sticks, because we've got new ones, and we talked about working with them again and how much fun that was.
It was so fun. So maybe that's the thread into this new quote unquote era, new phase, new cycle, new part of the spiral that goes up into the next level. You want to stop here and take a break or a pause?
This was good.
Okay.
This
was
all
good.
by itself is long enough.
Okay, so let me come back to here, and thank you for listening on October 30th, 2019. This is part of our podcast. And you are in the middle of a creative life.
Robert and Suzanne.
Robert and Suzanne.
Clarity.
Clarity.